All right, so our first guest on the show today, a man that is very unique and funny. For those of you that like the comic book world, you might enjoy what this guy has to offer for you. He is the creator of the trademarked Mike cartoon sports character. His name is Jim Sweeney. He's crafted his digital innovation to become the first universal animated brand in sports, which is not very easy to do at times with those that know the sports world. Jim's property has enjoyed an incredible start in the digital media world. In addition, he's penned over 821 blogs, and he has also published 38 Mike sports comic books. With all that being said, Jim Sweeney, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
You are very welcome, Jim. So we got to get right to it. So this Mike comic book, what is it for those that don't know? I have the picture in front of me so I can see it and understand it, but give us a little bit of background on what that is.
Mike is my ego. I've always had an affinity for comics, for sports, for words, for laughter, for humor. And I just felt a couple years ago that there was a major void in the marketplace, especially in the sports arena of sports. And I'm thinking, why has no one ever created or developed a cartoon sports character?
That is true, yeah. I've noticed that too.
Yeah. The only ones that have ever been out there over the years have been Peter Puck in hockey, and Fox Sports Network has the blue Transformer robot by the name of Cletus.
That's true, yeah.
But Cletus really doesn't transcend all sports. He's mostly football-specific and does some baseball. But Cletus doesn't sing. He doesn't entertain. He doesn't talk. And I think that was a shortcoming Fox had when they created the character. So my alter ego, something that's been coursing through my bloodstream since I was born, has been the character of Mike.
Okay.
And we call Mike the ultimate talking head on sports because he's a microphone. His real name is Michael Anthony Raffone, a.k.a. Microphone, or simply Mike.
I love it. Oh, that's fantastic.
He's unbelievably simple, but extraordinarily brilliant. And my goal for the character is quite audacious. I believe I've created the first ever animated brand that transcends all sports. I'm talking about SpongeBob big, Mickey Mouse big, Bart Simpson big, but in the world of sports.
Okay.
And Mike is crafted such that you should eventually see him on Jumbotrons, and you can do an in-game entertainment. You can see him on TV interacting or bantering back and forth with real-life celebrities as an alter ego character.
Wow, that's fantastic. Talking with the creator of Mike comic book series here, Jim Sweeney, on the BG Sports Show. So, Jim, along with creating Mike, you've also, as we mentioned in your little intro there, you've been writing a couple blogs, you've written a couple sports comic books as well, but what other content for Mike is out there for people to get their hands on?
You can find a lot of content for Mike at the website themike.com. That's TheeMike.com, themike.com. I've written since I started, developing content for the character. I've penned 831 blogs. I blog at least 4 times a week through the voice of the character, Mike. And I've also published 38 sports comic books that has all of our original content for comics having to do with sports, and they're all written through the voice of Mike. Eventually Mike will be animated, and you'll see him on TV and Jumbotrons, but to get him out there, I was able to start off in digital publishing, and, in hindsight, what a great way to get a character out there through
absolutely.
The written word on both blogs as well as ebooks.
So you mentioned that your long-term goal is to obviously get him animated and published in that aspect. Is that your end game for Mike, or what is your official end game for everything? Like, what is your perfect world scenario for what you want Mike to be able to do?
I don't have an end game for Mike. I just want to ride the wave because I can feel it building up behind me.
Absolutely.
And I want to be involved. I think that you could be funny in a PG-rated type of way.
Sure.
And that's what Mike is all about. He's a funny man of sports, but he never steps over the line.
Good, okay.
He flirts with stepping over the line, but will never step over the line.
Which is what you need,
And I want him to be licensed. A major corporation, kind of like a Geico Gecko or Aflac Duck, to be a brand advocate for that particular corporation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think so much of what we hear nowadays in the sports world is somebody always stepping over the line and trying to make a joke at somebody else's expense. And not knowing, as you mentioned, when now you can flirt with the line, but you don't actually go over it. And I think so many times we see nowadays people literally launch themselves over the line and get themselves in a lot of trouble, unfortunately. But with something like this, you can poke a little fun. You can give people the laughs and the entertainment that they want. But as you said, you can do it in a nice, reserved PG way without, offending too many people. Because ultimately, with something like this, kids are probably going to be the ones that are going to be attracted to it, and parents aren't going to want their kids going around something that's always making, bad jokes or offending a lot of people. They'll be like, well, I don't want my kid around it. So it seems like you really have a kid-friendly comic in that regards.
That's very true, but the demo for Mike, the demographic for Mike, is for a grandfather to be able to sit down with his grandkid and read the story or listen to Mike's podcast or check out his blog or see him on TV. Mike is a microphone. He's an ultimate talking head on sports.
Yep.
And literally and physically, he sits on a base. And metaphorically, our base for our character is such that we have a core set of ethics built into it, where we're not going to disparage people based on race, creed, color, sexual orientation, or whatever. We're going to take shots at people, but we'll give them the opportunity to be able to respond and also say, come on, you need to know better than that. Let's clean up your act. Let's do better. Let's think more positively. And I felt like a character is needed for that because there's so much. I mean, we're going through the presidential debates now. They're like, it's a slugfest, every debate.
Yep, exactly.
I don't want to get to that for Mike. I want to be more uplifting, encouraging, while being entertaining and funny.
Which is exactly what I think the sports world and just the entertainment world as a whole needs, which is fantastic. We're chatting with the creator of the Mike cartoon sports character here on the BG Sports Show, Jim Sweeney. So, Jim, I ask this with anybody that I ever hear that personally create something themselves, whether it be a book or, in this case, a character. Where and when did you know in your youth growing up or at whatever point in your lifetime you're like, you know what, I want to do this. I'm going to create Mike. And how do you continue to pull different inspirations for the blogs and podcasts that you do for him?
Well, the inspiration is out there every day. All you have to do is turn on the radio, TV, a podcast, or read a blog, or pick up a newspaper. And there's just an unending reservoir of stuff that you can do, write about, poke fun of, to comment about. But to answer your question, when did I know? It was a few years ago. I previously, with my wife, had a very successful computer sales business here in our home state of Florida, and we just wanted to do something different.
Okay.
And I felt like Mike was always inside me, but it was screaming to get out of my brain. And I said, I'm going to do it. I've had a good life. Fortunately, we saved well. We put ourselves in a position where we had the money, the wherewithal, but most importantly, we had the inspiration, we had the moxie to go out there and just do what we always felt compelled that we wanted to do, is create something that could positively impact culture. And that's what I believe I've created with our Mike character.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you on that one. After looking at a couple of different of the blog posts and books and everything that you've posted, it's very obvious that you are incredibly comfortable and confident in what you're doing, and that's what you want. I mean, why do something if you're not confident that it's going to, change people for the better? Now, I'm
a little bit older, I guess, in the process. I'm not a young buck like you are, and I'm thinking I'm at the stage where I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I do that's legal, moral, and ethical. And I have a vision, and I'm going to bring it to fruition in a very big way. So if people want to take shots at our character, sometimes I'll post a blog, and the most successful blogs are the ones in which, I prick, some of the egos of, like, NASCAR fans or...
Ooh, hey, those NASCAR fans, they'll get after you. That's the funny thing about it.
My thing on NASCAR is Mike did a blog post, is NASCAR really a sport? He put it in the same category as curling and poker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make too many listeners mad, but I'd probably agree with you on that one too, honestly. I mean, I feel like that could be an entire show dedicated around to what exactly classifies a sport. Well, that's fantastic. So what do you have on the horizon now for Mike? You've obviously written a bunch of blog posts and podcasts, but what are you working on coming up now, Jim?
I have 3 more books that I'm going to publish this year, and they all follow the same common theme. They're so simple, the books. They're usually books of lists. So I'm going to get 3 books out. They're all told through the voice of Mike with my own comics that I don't draw, but we commission somebody to do it for us. And to give you I guess a feel or a flavor for the book, people have asked, what's your number 1 selling Mike book? And I always tell them right away without skipping a beat, because it's Mike's Spiritual Sports Favorites.
Oh, really?
And then there's a pause. There's a silence, and they say, uh-oh, this guy's going religious on me.
Oh.
Not the case. Mike's favorite spiritual sports favorites are Amen Corner, the Immaculate Reception, Pigeon Heaven, the Hail Mary Pass, Tim Tebow, the Minister of Defense, and they're all religious terms that I
just have been assigned
into, usually an 800-word chapter as well as its own accompanying comic.
Okay.
So it's very different. It's a different look at sports.
Which is good, and I think, like you mentioned, though, too, anytime you mention religion and sports, immediately people are like, whoa, we can't be doing that now. Exactly. That's kind of like politics and religion, too. It's like all those faux pas, you just don't interact with them. But that's good that you're playing, and like you said, you're kind of tricking folks a little bit in that sense, too, saying, hey, you know what? Like, it's religious terms, but it's not the same thing, and I think that's awesome that you've done that. So, real quickly...
Yeah, and I have
go ahead.
Like Mike's favorite big stuff on sports. It's about the big unit, the big hurt, the big fella, the big NBA logo. So that's Mike. That's what Mike's all about.
And that's fantastic, and I love that is the type of brand that you're portraying out there. So one other thing I got to ask, actually I have two questions I have to ask you. One, you mentioned that you're from Florida, and I have to ask where in Florida you're from, because I'm originally from Naples, Florida.
3 hours north up the coast on the Gulf in Clearwater.
Oh, sure.
And our beach, Clearwater Beach, #1 beach in America.
I was just going to say, Clearwater Beach is gorgeous. That's fantastic.
I love Clearwater Beach.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. I just had to ask because you said you were from Florida, so I was like, I got to see where the fellow Floridian is from. So, okay, well, now, one of the things I understand from everything that I've heard and talking with you about, you've got a very different but exciting volunteer opportunity that you do in the world of sports. Can you share a little bit of insight into what that is?
Yes, I'm the head of the United States for an international organization called FIMBA. And FIMBA is an acronym for Federation International Masters Basketball Association.
Ooh,
it's
really?
like FIBA, but the M is in there, is for Masters, which is a euphemism for older. It's for guys 35 plus, and I help recruit and organize teams to play in international Masters basketball tournaments.
Really? Wow. So it's kind of like the World Cup of older basketball players is what you're...
It is, and at times, depending on the division, it's like watching icebergs move, but we're still out there running up and down the court.
I'm assuming, did you play basketball then in your growing up and still do?
I play 3 times a week.
Okay.
And, the last FIMBA World Championship, and the site is FIMBA.net, FIMBA.net.
Okay.
It was held at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex in Orlando several months ago. We had 216 teams from 35 countries.
Holy cow, wow, well, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of former NBA players, national team players, Olympians, and, last year alone I played in that tournament. I played in a tournament in Croatia, a tournament in Serbia. The year before that, I was in Greece. I was in Brazil. So we're still out there playing, and, there's not going to be alley-oop passes or slam dunking, but we're out there having fun.
Maybe a couple trampolines on the court might help you with that. That'd be fun. Well, awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time today. Before we let you go, where can people find not only your content for the websites, but maybe on social media as well?
TheMike.com. That's TH2Es. TheMike, TheeMike.com. And on Facebook and Twitter, just look at Mike on Sports.
Mike on Sports. Jim Sweeney, the creator of Mike on Sports, the comic series. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy Monday for us, Jim, and we look forward to hopefully having you on the program again in the future.
I'd love to be on the program again, and thank you for the time.
You're very welcome, Jim.